Welcome back, dear viewers. If you're just tuning in, you're watching Hala Kuwait on KTV2, the family channel. And I'm pleased to be joined now with our attorney, Almas Abu Qammaz, who is always with us on the show to enlighten us on different topics, and would like to welcome you once again, attorney.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, honestly.
Now, we really do appreciate each time you come on, you have a different topic to shed light on and spread awareness on. And today we have this topic for employees and the ethics that comes with being in a workplace. So let's start with the basics, Attorney Almas. Is there a legal difference between bad manners and unprofessional ethics?
So absolutely, bad manners usually makes you, unwanted or unpopular, but unethical behavior, like, breaching confidentiality, spreading fake, reports in the office is a breach of contract, right? So ethics are, let's say, the real game. Okay, it's the start of a game,
right,
to keep you out of legal trouble. So always have your ethics with you.
And when you say that, what does that entail exactly? Like documenting things, or saying no to things? What exactly does it entail?
Look, let me tell you, ethics can't never be written on a contract. Like you don't need a contract to tell you not to steal, to tell you not to, sabotage the company or sabotage your colleague. Ethics comes within. So the basics are, honesty, loyalty, integrity. Try to be, very pure to your job, whereas you will be appreciated.
And being an asset, basically, to that place, right?
Yes, definitely.
So if a contract doesn't explicitly say, don't do X, right? Can an employee still be fired for doing it?
Oh, yes, because basically the law recognizes implied duties. So there are expectations, as I mentioned, like honesty, loyalty, and you don't need also a contract to tell you don't follow the orders, obviously. So if someone asks you not to do something, so you shouldn't do it, especially your employer or your boss. So yeah, you might get fired for doing something that you're not supposed to do.
So do these internal policies, let's call them that, internal policies, do they have the same weight as contract terms?
Internal policies regulates the internal office regulations, basically. What happens during office hours, what is your job scope, how are you supposed to, stay strict to certain things, do not interfere in other things. So you mentioned that, is it strict as the law? It depends. It has to be applicable to the Kuwaiti law. You cannot put or implement conditions internally that don't abide by the country's regulations.
So there is something always above it, right?
Definitely, definitely. So basically there is a compliance officer. So if you put internal norms in your office, you must have a compliance officer to regulate these norms and to make sure that you are, intact with the government laws.
I'm glad we brought up this internal policies topic, because maybe you can clarify this for me, and we touched on it before we went to air as well. When it comes to vacations, sometimes we have a group of employees that like to leave at the same time, let's say New Year, which is a popular time to take a vacation. There's no real law that regulates that, or what is the situation there exactly?
I understand what you're saying, and everyone wants to take vacation during New Year's, everyone wants to take vacation during summer holidays, during Christmas holidays, during Eid holidays, Ramadan, etc., right? But it's impossible for an HR or an employer to, allow all these holidays in one go, right? So there must be a way, like internally in your company, a way to submit your vacation slip beforehand. Like, let's say our company does like 15 days prior, sometimes 30 days prior. And the priority goes to the ones who did not take off first. Obviously, we cannot, tell the employee that you're not allowed to go, but we can give him a post-dated or other dates that he can take off.
Is it fair to say this is a prime example of internal policies versus, the contractual laws?
It's you can say that, but it's not in the law to tell an employee not to take off.
Right.
But it's in the law that an employee must listen to their HR department.
So what is the most common legal, let's say between brackets, trap regarding ethics?
Okay, so basically the conflict of interest. Many employees take side gigs, like helping their friends or others within the company's resources. And if you don't disclose it, it is seen as a breach of trust. So if you are using company resources to make side money or to get your personal
gain?
Then it is illegal. Yeah.
So what is there something that is a common misconception when it comes to employees thinking that it might be harmless and it's actually risky, legally?
Let's say you're an employee in my company and we're paying you a monthly basis. So an employee has 8 hours a day in the office. During those 8 hours, you should dedicate all your time to the employer, to the company itself.
Right.
If you get caught doing something else during this office hour, even if you are working remotely, like some people, and this goes to ethics as well. Like people now are working remotely. So if you are not, you're giving false reports and fake, audits of what you're doing, then this comes to your ethics. And if you get caught, then you might get fired for that, yeah.
In your experience, what should an employee do if their boss asks them to, let's say, tweak financial numbers?
So get it in writing, send an email. Basically, just send an email, say, just to confirm you asked me to change, this figure to an X, and wait for a reply. Usually when you send an email and it's tracked, the person who asked you to, tweak the figures,
right,
will back off. And it's going to make them liable legally.
Right. It's more binding when it's documented. Is that fair to say?
Yes, definitely.
So does a non-disclosure agreement, also known as an NDA, does an NDA protect a company even if they are doing something illegal?
No, absolutely not. So an NDA cannot be used as a shield for any criminal, activity. So you cannot be legally punished if you broke an NDA by reporting to the authorities. So an NDA can never hold you liable if you just spoke up for a criminal activity.
If it's something unlawful and I report it, then the NDA has nothing to do
Definitely,
with it, right?
definitely.
Right. So is time theft, there's this term called time theft, and maybe you can explain that to our dear viewers as well. Is that like spending hours on social media? Is that actually a legal issue?
It is. So you are getting paid for those hours, and you are just spending this time that you're getting paid for on social media doing something else. So that is, you might get terminated legally. And
just from scrolling?
Yes, because you're getting paid for it. You're getting paid to stay in the office to do certain jobs, but you are scrolling on your phone. So it's a good thing to just not go to the office, stay at home and scroll on your phone.
Exactly, yeah. So now, speaking of that topic, on social media, can an employee be fired for what they post on their private social media?
Yes. So if it brings the company into disrepute, and your digital ethics, you know, is a part of your persona, your work persona. So if you post hate speeches or any vibes of the company internally and to ruin their brand, then you might get, you know, fired, and they can get back at you legally, like for defamation or for any of such.
Is it, let's say, a tight rope to walk on? Because sometimes, you know, we talk about freedom of speech, but sometimes you need to also be aligned with the company you're working for or the workplace in general. So is it a matter of balancing that, or can I just speak my mind on social media?
Speaking your mind is completely different than, you know, posting something that is unethical, right? So if you have your private account, you can do whatever you want, it's private. But if you are in a public account and whatever you're posting can get back at your company's image, then you will be legally liable for that. And the company can get back at you and can make so much compensation out of it.
It's amazing that one small decision like that can affect a person's whole career. It can be career defining and not just a decision for that moment, don't you think?
Definitely, definitely. So I think in people who are using social media to post illegal things, or let's say not illegal things, things that are not ethical as a face of a company employee or as someone who's representing a certain company, then you should think twice before posting.
Right. Well, we'd like to pause there, Attorney Almas. We do have this report to show our dear viewers, so stick around for more. Welcome back, dear viewers, and I'm pleased to be joined once again with our distinguished guest in the studio, Attorney Almas Abu Qammaz. And now we like to shift gears, Attorney Almas, and like to ask you, is a toxic manager a legal problem or just an HR headache, let's say?
So basically, it's a legal problem. Okay, it's a constructive, let's say, dismissal. We call it as lawyers. So if a manager's unethical behavior is hostile to the environment and the employee resigns or quits, then the company can be sued for, you know, damages for that employee.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. So on that topic, you know, let's say an employee tries to get closer with, you know, their manager or something, and gives or the opposite, a client gives an employee a thank you gift. Ethical lines, let's talk about that.
Okay, in that situation, the line is the influence. Like if the gift is is large enough to influence the company's future decisions, then you're out of the ethics line. So basically, it's considered a bribe. Okay, so my legal advice, always disclose to the management what type of gifts you get so you can be on the safe side.
Right. You know, we see people sometimes enhancing their CVs. If they're already hired and doing a great job, let's say, can they still be fired for a lie on the resume?
Basically, yes. This is called fraud in the inducement, basically. So even if you are the top performer, if the company finds out that you lied about a degree or a certain position previously, they can terminate you immediately because the foundation of the contract was a lie.
Can a company be sued for the unethical actions of just one employee?
Yes. And that's like it happened several times with companies. So basically, if you act unethically while on the clock and your company shares, you know, the blame, this is why companies are so strict about ethical training. Usually companies, when they hire someone, they take him into training with the HR and what are the ethics, the norms and all that, so they don't share the liability of the blame.
So what is the most ethical way to handle a whistleblower, you know, this type of situation internally?
So companies should have, you know, an anonymous hotline, which is ethics hotline.
Right.
Okay, legally protecting the whistleblower from retaliation, basically. It's often a requirement, you know, because to prevent massive lawsuits against the company.
Is it unethical to look for a new job while currently employed?
No, it's not unethical, but doing it on company time, it's unethical. So you can't use company laptop, company cars, assets to look for a new job. You should take a time off, report to the HR department, tell them, request that I need time to look for another job. And you have, like once you sign your resignation, the law automatically gives you an hour a week to search for a job.
Well, as we approach the end of the interview, Attorney Almas, you know, do you have any, let's say, words of advice for employees out there?
Yes, so I tell my clients usually use the mirror test, okay? So at the end of the day, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and think of how you're going to look at yourself with the things that you've done that day, okay? So, but from a legal perspective, use the front page test. So imagine whatever you do, which is unethical, is on the front page of the newspaper. How are you going to face the judge? How are you going to defend yourself there? How are you going to face your family, your friends? So always, you know, look at yourself and try to be ethical as much as possible so you don't put yourself in a, you know, illegal situation.
I'd like to also add one more question, if you don't mind. How can someone or an employee protect themselves best, you know, when it comes to that type of thing?
So basically document everything.
Document, right.
Yes. If you see something wrong, keep a log of it, send an email, you know, report it to HR. So have it documented so you keep yourself safe.
Right. Well, well said, of course, and we really appreciate your time and insight always when you join us here on Hala Kuwait. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, dear viewers, that was Attorney Almas Abu Qammaz. Of course, now we move on to this report that we have prepared about Eco City. Let's watch it together and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.